What's up, everyone? We are back with some commentary. You can hear my voice is a little bit off because I've been dealing with some sickness. Went and got myself super sick, like bronchitis, like bedridden for like 4 days there to try to help myself out, and been on a bunch of different medications and inhaler, all kinds of crazy stuff from the doctors to try to help out. But so we're going to be going through and seeing some Surveil Breach versus Mono Blue Tron. We saw some Mono Blue Tron previously. I know some people are still waiting for Decklists, and they're coming. Part of the problem is, I've been sick. I've been bedridden. I haven't been able to go to my LGS to talk to the players and get their deck lists from them. So they're coming. Don't worry. So if you're wondering about where deck lists are going to be living, you can check out the description below and see, because there is a Moxfiled link. And on there, it'll have access to both commander decks as well as modern decks. But, just fun ways to do it. Now, the camera angle is a little bit weird for this one, and you can see it kind of moving and shaking a lot because this is one of the earlier recorded ones where we were testing things out, and these players were, based on where the camera positioning was, it basically just shook and vibrated and moved around. So I tried to do a stabilization thing, and so by doing it, it kind of adjusted and cut off the top of the window, which is fine. It works out okay. Like, it could be worse. So we're not going to get 100% based off of the life total here, but we get a rough idea about how things go. This is from a few weeks ago. So we're already starting to see the enhanced surveillance, which is a really, this deck just sort of building and coming out of nowhere. But, the amount that you surveil gets to increase when you have that out. It's an enchantment there. And there are just other surveil related shenanigans in it. So why is it Surveil Breach? Because Underworld Breach, look, here we go. Already consider we're going to surveil 1, which actually ends up turning into Surveil 3, which is crazy just how much you get to look at and manipulate the top of your library here. So 2 cards go into the bin there. We'll draw some cards off of it and be set up. And this is, of course, got the Ragavan to start things out and get things going with a little bit of an aggression plan, which, having a clock against the Tron deck is nice, especially in this case where you can start stripping away some of the Tron lands. Now, this is working out better against the Mono Blue version because you see we're just playing islands, we're bouncing stuff, we're doing these things, we're trying to kind of do this delay tactic, get into counter magic wars, get into bounce spells, to kind of put us in a position here to eventually get a Tron, where like the mono green version we've talked about before is very focused on how efficient and how quickly can I search through my deck using things like Ancient Stirrings, Sylvan Scryings, the maps, of course, which both mono blue and green versions run maps, but there's other ways that we're just going to be drawing a lot of cards instead of digging for Tron pieces and digging for payout cards. So even though it's the same style of deck of, it's a big mana deck, they play completely different. So it's a very cool style to play. If you guys have never played the mono blue version, I highly recommend looking into it and trying it out because it's a lot of fun. The Surveil Breach deck, though, is, if you love drawing cards, you love looking through your library and manipulating the top of your library, this is the deck for you. We're going to be trying to stick another Ragavan here. Any threat that we get to kind of put a clock on our opponent is important, because if we sit here and are dirtling just like they're dirtling, we're falling behind. So we're going to see a little potential counter battle here. We'll see if it does end up going into it or not. Looks like we're going to save our spells. That's fine. Counter, return it to your hand. But yeah, it's going to be a much more passive start between these two decks here. There we can get a glimpse of the life total there, 17 to 16. And again, this is from a few weeks ago, so players are still getting used to life totals. But let me know if you notice any mistakes or anything that these players are doing, because we're getting used to being back on camera. It's been a while. We did this a lot a couple of years ago, and then I kind of had real life become all consuming, so we kind of took a break from doing recordings and commentary. But it's great to be back and doing that, as well as showing you guys some history of Magic, as well as specifically with ban lists and stuff like that. So I hope you guys have been enjoying the content. If you like it, subscribe, spread the word, let people know. But now we're kind of getting in the tank a little bit here for our Surveil Breach players, still just trying to get information out. You see all those cards up at the top are the ones that are getting exiled, and every time you're hitting a land, it's always just like, all right, cool. This at least is a nice little threat here. Expressive Iteration is going to continue to be used or attempted to be used here. Yeah, some Unholy Heats there that are pretty much dead cards in this matchup. It's not really something that you're expecting to see or be used, because there's not really that many actual threats. Yeah, sometimes you'll see players run Worm Coil engines and things like that, but even then it's like that's not really what we're so worried about compared to some of the other stuff that the players can be able to hit here. So all right. A lot more thinking involved with the Surveil stuff too, is because you really are trying to set up and plan as much as possible for the upcoming turns. There we finally get our first Tron land. Map's going to come down right after that there, so that is going to be setting it up. Of course, get a pop 2 mana, go search your library for another land, goes to your hand. So we are getting closer to getting Tron online. Ledger Shredder going to be able to having access to Conniving. It's also just an additional threat. Hitting that 1 ring is nice. Now, of course, you could be able to start casting some of these cards that are exiled off of Ragavan, but we're not really worried about that. That's not kind of really. It's just kind of siphoning off annoying cards by doing this is really where we're at. And even the Surveil lands are something you can see them being added in here. So let's kind of continue up here. We'll do a little Bolt Your Face with the Hadouken, and we will be able to Connive as well as the second spell. Put a +1 counter on it. Here's our Surveil land coming out here. You can see him grabbing 3 cards because, of course, we've got our lovely enchantment up there, allowing us to be able to Surveil 2 additional times. Which is cool and uncommon from the Ravnica Legions there, seeing play in Modern. Something that, that's the kind of stuff that I love to see is these decks that you're like, what? This is not like a tier 1 deck, but like if you're piloting it well and you understand the lines, and you can take some games and you can win some matches with cards that most people were not prepared or not expect to do well, but they find these nice homes, nice synergies that just like allow them to thrive. All right, looks like we did get to see another land pop out there. So we've got, must have been, that was what the Tron land that he picked up, which was the mine. So we've got mine and tower there. We're just missing power plant to be able to assemble all of Tron. But with a quick glance at the Mono Blue player's hand, you got to see basically it's a lot of delay. And that's kind of the name of the game still, is we're going to try to delay with bounce spells and counter magic and things like that. There is a few payoff cards. There was a Karn in there as well. But Dragon Range Channeler, additional threats. This is a very low to the ground deck, the Surveil deck is. It's, fills up the graveyard. Does have the way to win using Thassa's Oracle, as well as other ways of just sort of recycling your cards, bolting a bunch of times, things like that. So you could be able to do that as options here. So easy to fuel up, especially when you're surveilling 3 times and dumping a bunch of things into your graveyard. Dragon Trade Channeler, of course, helping out a lot with that too, which I would assume at this point. Okay, let's just have double enchantments here. Let's get a bunch of triggers. Boom, boom, boom. That's the other thing too. If you're trying to play this deck, you have to be prepared for how many Surveil triggers that are available to you. All right, we'll throw some dudes in the graveyard here. Looks like debating about, do we need additional threats? That's kind of, it looks like what we're seeing here. A few threats potentially at the top. There are those defender phantasmal guys. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but you know, we'll get into it if he ends up keeping them and plays them. All right, let's start moving to some attacks. Let's see, our first delay spell will be... Looks like double counterspell in hand right now. All right, bouncing this. And all other copies with the same name. Echoing Truth. Says, okay, fine. Go to damage. You take 2. Let's, nice. Gets rid of another map. Keeping him off Tron again. Let's replay our bird, Ledger Shredder, and just pass from there. All right, we're getting a little glimpse of the graveyard there. That's all this like pile that he's going through right now. Just to kind of give you an idea of just like how much fuel is in the graveyard for the Surveil player. 7 mana available, which, you know, no Tron land at this point in time to finish things and get up to the next stage, but so much delay tactics available, right? Like, you just keep seeing these like remands, echoing truths, repeals, like it's all about the delay. But where is his turning point? Where's the point where he's going to find a way to turn the tide? He's going to need a way to wipe this board. Something like an Oblivion Stone would be huge. If he's got an Ugin, the Spirit Dragon, I mean, he's 1 mana off. I think he's at 7 right now. 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, so you need 8 for Ugin. So he's got to hope to delay a little bit longer. 1 ring's a good delay. That's way to do it. Of course, that will give you protection, but we're going to try to fight over it. So the counterspell is going to come down, trigger. Let's get some surveilling. A lot to look through here. Looks like a bauble, a couple other goodies. But again, it's like, what do we care about? We care about closing the game out and trying to set up for the next couple of turns. Bobble here, bobble there. Like, that's not necessarily going to help us to close the game out. So we're getting the surveil stuff to be resolved, and now see, does the counterspell resolve? Looks like we do have the counterspell resolving. Which, you know, that was a something that really was going to be extremely important for keeping our Mono Blue Tron player in here. So here's the bobble trigger. Oh, look at this. Okay, so there it is. You could see the through the breach is up at the top here. We're going to throw a couple of things in the graveyard, put that up at the top. Let's pop, take a look at what your top card is. A nice little bounce spell. And turn the team sideways. Bam, bam, puts you to 1. Let's, yeah, get rid of that 1 card. Let's draw that 1. Yeah, so game's wrapped up here. Even if he sits here and he gets Oblivion Stone or something like that, and it doesn't get countered, because you need 8 mana to activate it. 5 and 3, or sorry, 3 and 5. So it's like, it's not gonna be going the way that he wants to here. So that's the sometimes this happens, right? When you're fighting it. I mean, losing a bunch of stuff off the top here, you see like that pile of just how many Ragavan triggers there were this game. Lots of cards shipped away. But yeah, just double checking through. making sure that there's nothing else available in the hand of the Mono Blue Tron player to see, okay, is there anything I could utilize at this point to help me out? Okay, let's see. Yeah, so look, he's 3 and 5 is kind of how he set it up, which is giving us indication that there is probably an Oblivion Stone. Yeah, so he says, I'd like to attempt to play this Oblivion Stone to wipe the field. But our Surveil Breach player doesn't even have to fight over this. He could let it resolve, you know, attack, you know, do like pass turn, attack, opponent pops it, and then you activate Underworld Breach and just like bolt him. All right, we know there's a Hadoken, there's a lightning bolt in the graveyard, so he could just be able to get that back. But so yeah, he just kind of thumbs up. All right, cool. Yeah, just goes, all right, let's do this. Blow it all up. All right, that's fine. Activate. Yeah, show me Underworld Breach is what his opponent says. You got it. Here it is. Underworld Breach. Each non-land card in your graveyard has escape equal to its mana cost. Escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. So he's like, yeah, okay, you got it. Let's scoop it up. Go to game 2. And then, of course, at the beginning of the end step, you sacrifice Underworld Breach. Yeah, so there's 2 ways you could do it with the Underworld Breach. Of course, you could have just Hadoken and bolt him, cleaned him up there. But there's also the Thassa's Oracle win in here with Underworld Breach as well. So. All right, so game 2 going to come up. This is going to be, of course, Mono Blue Tron player. We've already done sideboarding. We kind of cut the video briefly in between, so we miss out. Don't have to waste our time doing sideboards, but it is a weekly event at our LGS, so that does, of course, have meaning that there is a 50-minute timer going for the round. We don't have the timer up on screen for you guys, but you know, there are going to be a couple games that we've got coming up in the future for you guys that do end up going to time. All right, so here we go. Our Thought-Bound Phantasma. So this is what we're talking about. It's a defender 2/2. When you surveil, you put a counter on it, and it cannot attack unless it has 3 or more +1 counters on it. Then it gets to attack as though it didn't have a defender. So basically, it's very quickly for you to fill that guy up and turn him into a 5/5 and just start turning him sideways. Dragon Rage Channeler as our attempt. Because you always have to check, knowing that you're playing against there. And yeah, Condescend's going to come out, counter it, unless his opponent pays 1. And then I get a Scry 2. Let's do some setup. Both decks are trying to set up here. Surveil land. Put a counter on it. Pass turn. So it's already got 1 counter. 2 more counters that can start attacking. No other Tron land, but another island here. Another Dragon Rage Channeler. Do we care? Do we care? Remands, Condescends. Where are we at? Are we letting it resolve? Looks like it's, yeah, looks like he's saying okay. We're fine with it. Pass turn.
So maybe it is the
Are we doing Echoing Truth? No, repeal. Okay. Repeal, let's return the Dragon Rage Channeler to your hand. So the delay tactics are working out so much better this game for our Mono Blue Tron player. You know, still sitting at 20 life, so it's just like, all right, everything is pretty much working out up until there where he did not get a land. It's like sitting at 3 lands and just sort of like, all right, repeal that back, and then I'll pass turn. And ooh, okay, getting a breeding pool. There is a new sideboard card that a lot of players are running. It's kind of this 1 green utility card, like your opponent sacks a creature with flying, or does like destroys an artifact or an enchantment or something. Like it does like all the things. All right, here we go. Ledger Shredder coming back. We are going to be... Oh, there was a land up there. Okay. Never mind. Hidden behind our little banner. We're going to attempt to remand it back to your hand. All right, we go for the Dragon Rage Channeler here. Yeah, it looks like the debate. Lots of options, but just kind of playing it safe here. So 4 lands for a Mono Blue Tron player, 2 islands, 1 Tron land. Ooh, nothing else. Both players just sort of sitting, land go, which sometimes happens in the kind of blue matchups. Another remand going to get used, or attempt to get used here. Turn it to your hand, draw a card. It's like he's getting a lot of mana up that he could fight over stuff a little bit more, but it's kind of risky to do so. Okay, 2 Tron lands. Tower and mine are here. Still missing power plant. Surveil land coming out. Yeah, keeps that on top. We'll tick that up again. If it gets one more counter, he will start being able to attack. There's the Surveil land again. Debating. Throws it in the graveyard. So that now is a 5/5 and can start turning him sideways. Let's see, is he going to blow it up? He is. Yeah, so he says, yeah, let's blow it up. Blow it up. Destroy all 1 cost. Which then we... Ledger Shredder's back. Only 1 blue man available. You're not that worried about a counterspell here. So you can kind of like commit a little bit more to the board. Dragon Rage Channeler comes. We're going to see Ledger Shredder put a counter on it. Throw that in the graveyard. But now we got some threats coming. One, two, three, four, five. 5 lands now for our Mono Blue Tron player. Did end up losing 1 to blow up that little phantasmal guy last time. Oblivion Stone attempt. No counterspell in hand, but there is a Spell Pierce, but we're not that worried about that. Unholy Heat again. Let's this is what we're talking about, the sideboard card here. Pick your poison. Choose 1. Look at this. It does all the things you want it to be doing. Please sacrifice an artifact, he's basically saying. And we'll be able to Now start swinging in uncontested for a little bit. Bam, bam, bam. Got some triggers, second spell, as well as our Dragon Rage Channeler ability. Now, I don't know how he's stacking. It looks like stacking the Ledger Shredder first. I don't have as much experience with the Surveil Breach deck, but you know it does seem like it matters based on your how you stack your triggers here. So it's like it's one of those that okay, it's probably better for you to draw the card and then discard the card and then look at your top card to see if you want it, because it's like it lets you look at more cards that way. So having Dragon Rage Channeler last in that case. We're going to attempt to Spell Pierce it successfully there. Boom, boom, boom. Lots of damage going in. Four mana over on the side. Is that a one ring coming out? Oh, Karn. Got the counter spell to eat that. Low on resources, though. So that is the thing. It's like, if you can survive long enough and trade enough of your opponent's resources, you might be able to be okay. Like, losing out on that Karn, though, was huge. Clock is ticking. Very little life left here, though. Oh, no. 2 mines and a tower. Not the power plant he needed. 6 mana. Maybe hope for the 1 ring to buy some time. Limited life left, too. We can't see it quite up at the top here, but we know he's been taking big swings every turn. Okay, there's 2 mana left. Do you fight over it here and try to end the game? I mean, I feel like you have to. Let's do some fetching. Surveil land. Attempt to counter it. Counter resolves. Yeah, it's basically we're closing things out here. Dash Ragavan. Let's go in. Boom, boom, boom. Looks like about 8 life, and yep, there we go. There's the handshake. Dropped it down. So yep, that's it. 8 life. There's looks about 8 damage exactly. So very, very fast-paced game number 2 there. I mean, we saw a lot of the delay at first going through. It's working out pretty well here, but in the end, Surveil Breach able to take it. First game had the access to Underworld Breach, and then of course game 2 just kind of having a consistent clock. The Tron deck doing what it tried to do best, the delay tactics, but not enough to really get there. Neither game. It was able to assemble Tron, which is, you know, very different from the Mono Blue Tron game we watched earlier. So if you guys hadn't seen that, check that out. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching, y'all. Hope you guys enjoyed the game, and I'll see you all next game.